Hi, my name is Mary, and this is Mary's Thoughts. So, before I go on to speak about today's topic, I would just like to thank each and every one of you who has stuck with me in this hiatus that I have been on. I checked my subscription numbers every now and again, and I was surprised that people still stayed subscribed to this channel. I think you guys low-key thought, she's going to be back. Let's stick around and see what she'll come up with. So thank you very much. And I do not take it for granted that you guys stuck around. Thank you. So let's continue, shall we? Today's topic or today's video is about how God delivered me from the use of lightening and bleaching creams. First of all, I know that this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and it's something that people have various opinions about. So I need each and every one of you to understand that this video is not about me trying to force my opinions on anyone about how they choose their skincare products and how they use their skincare products. I would not force my opinions on people. However, I believe that this word that I received is not for me alone. There are other people who would have received this word. And just in case you need a tribe or you need somebody to affirm to you that what you're hearing is right, I will put this video out there and leave it on the internet for you to see as and when you need it. So I'm going to start this video by talking about my history with bleaching creams, lightening creams, toning creams, whatever it was. I grew up in Nigeria and I grew up around a lot of women. If there is one thing you need to know about women, is that women love to use beauty products. This is why the beauty industry is one of the most thriving industries in the world globally. It's an industry that many people cannot deny has a fast growth rate, a rapid growth rate, because women love beauty products. We're feminine women, we love beauty products, we love anything that makes us look better as we age. And so growing up in a house full of women, I used to see beauty products a lot, and I got used to seeing lightening products. Back in the day in Nigeria, the common lightening products were Tura, Zarina. You had something called Shirley, which was like a white masky kind of thing that women put on their faces. And you had, there were all these creams that ended with Claire, Pew Claire, Bio Claire, Epi Claire, all these creams. And most of them were hydroquinone and steroid-based creams. So I got used to seeing these creams, and I got used to seeing women use these creams to achieve certain results. And to be honest with you, a lot of these women did not use these creams to change their skin tones or to alter anything about themselves. These creams were usually used to deal with hyperpigmentation issues, sunburn, dark spots, hormonal issues that caused the skin to go a couple of shades darker. So sometimes a person might feel as though their skin is not glowing, and maybe because of the information that was at our disposal at that time, people just thought creams would do the magic, and they usually bought creams. My mother never used lightening creams. I cannot remember seeing my mother using lightening creams. But there was this thing she used to use on her face at night when she was younger called Shirley. It's like a white face mask. And most people, probably remember Shirley from back in the day. It was in this white yellow tube, and you use it on your face overnight, and it just gives your skin that spotless look. I think it was an Asian based product. So my mom never used lightening creams because my mom is light skinned, just like myself. But like I said, I grew up in a house with a lot of women and a lot of extended family, and I got used to seeing women use lightening creams. A part of me felt as though it was a rite of passage for a woman to use these creams when you get older, because I knew that I remember that when I was younger and maybe I run out of my own body lotion and I want to use one of my auntie's lotions, I would hear things like, no, 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 don't use that. That's not for children. That's an adult lotion. So my mindset was that when I become an adult, I would then be able to use the adult lotions. And so when I turned 16, I had finished high school at that time because I finished high school pretty young. And I had 2 years at home before I got into university. And at some point, I started to notice that I had sunburn, or I can't remember what it was on my skin. I think it was sunburn because sunburn is something I deal with even till now. And I went to the cosmetic shop and I spoke to the guy at the cosmetic shop and I said to him, oh, I'm dealing with sunburn, la, da, 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 da. And then he gave me this lightening cream to use on my face and my arms or whatever. And I started to use that and I noticed that the sunburn went away. And that was my go-to cream. But you know, the thing with lightening creams is that when you're trying to solve one problem, you unknowingly create another problem for yourself. So the creams would work until they stop working. And when you go back to the shop, they'll give you another cream. And so my journey with lightening creams began. As I got into university and I started to have my own money, I had access to more creams, and there were cosmetic shops everywhere in the city I schooled in for university or for college, as some of you would call it. And I had access to money as a student. I know I used to, I had some side hustles I was doing as a student, so I had access to money and I used to buy creams, and lightening creams just became my go-to. Back in the day, I cannot remember if I used to moisturize as much as I moisturize now, because all my creams were lightening, brightening, toning, creams. Those were all the labels on my creams. I did used to notice that my skin felt and looked a bit dry, but at that time, I couldn't really be bothered because I don't know. I think sometimes I'll use like oils, but most of my skincare routines were made up of lightening creams. And this continued up until my late 20s. Some of the advantages of using lightening creams, at that time, I felt were advantages, was the fact that whenever I had a spot, maybe from a minor accident, maybe you have a mini fall or you're cooking in the kitchen and you bruise your hand mistakenly or you burn your hand or any part of your body with like a hot pot, or you mistakenly touch a hot pot or a hot iron or something and you have a bruising, bleaching creams would get that off your skin really fast, like really, really quickly. There were some creams I had for specific reasons. There were creams for dark knees, dark knuckles, shoe marks on my feet, and then there were also lightening creams for my body. And if unknowingly I maybe touch a hot pot in the kitchen and I scald my skin, once it starts healing, I know the creams to use to make sure that my body doesn't scar. So at that time, I saw certain benefits to lightening creams. However, there were also disadvantages. One disadvantage that I can remember from back then was that my skin never had one skin tone all the time. Sometimes I'll be lighter, sometimes I'll be darker, and this depends on the products I use. Because I might start to use a product, and when I go back to the shop to buy that product, I wouldn't see it on the shelf anymore. So I would have to get a substitute product, and then my skin would have to make those adjustments and so on and so forth. So back then, I used to have like 3 shades of powder because I never really know what my skin would look like depending on the phase I am in my menstrual cycle, or the products at my disposal at that time, or the weather, depending on how hot the sun is. I always did try to use sunscreen, regardless of what I was using on my skin, but there were fluctuations in my skin tone. And at some point, I had different creams for different parts of my body: face, neck, arms, knees, whatever, legs. And sometimes I would patronize cosmetic vendors as well to get lightening creams or whatever portions they were selling that they promised would work like magic and make your skin supple. So yes, there was that whole cycle. I honestly cannot condense more than 10 years of this activity in one video, but there were cycles of just creams and creams and creams. And to be honest with you, my skin looked good. I'll attach some pictures to this video so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm attaching pictures from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, especially when I was working as a young professional. My skin looked good. So it wasn't like I was walking around like Coke and Fanta. I was glowy, my skin tone was smooth and fresh or whatever, the whole pretty girl aesthetic. I had it going on. But something happened. In 2019, I decided to go on an intense spiritual journey just for myself because I was lacking a lot of clarity at that time. And so I took time off to just shut down, fast, pray, and just get all the clarity I believed I needed at that time, which was good because I did need the clarity. This whole thing took me about 6 months, right, of just praying, studying the word, and just seeking God's face. And then something started to happen. Now, I was in America at the time, and I took a break from everything to be in America and just shut down and do all the praying and fasting and God seeking that I wanted to do. Before I left Nigeria, I took jars of lightening creams that I knew would last me for those 6 months because those were my go-tos, right? So face wash, body creams, whatever it is I needed to use. I stocked my bags with those creams and took them with me to America, especially because I know that those creams will be 3 times the price in America, and I didn't want to have to buy them in America when I am coming from Nigeria where they're 1/3 of the price. So I was in the US, just taking a break from life and everything in between, and of course, doing my normal skincare or self-care routines. When I wake up in the morning, take a shower, use my body lotion or body cream and everything. And about 2 months into that, I started to sense an irritation every time I did my self-care routine. There was this sort of groaning in me each time I picked up the lightening cream. It was just like I was irritated that I had to use the body lotion. And I didn't understand what that feeling was. It was somewhere in my tummy. It's like my tummy would just contrast each time I tried to use the lightening cream. Now, with my better understanding of God and the things of God now, I know what that pang means, okay? We can talk about that in another video, but I know what it means now. If I am set to do something and I start to feel that contraction in my tummy, I know that that is God signaling me. But I didn't understand at that time that God could signal me against something as trivial as lightening creams. So I brushed it off. And I'll use my creams, I'll use my lotions and everything. Until one day, I picked up the cream and I woken up in the morning, done everything I needed to do and had my self-care routine. And I picked up my jar of cream and I wanted to use it. And I felt like throwing up. I remember I went to the toilet and I put my head down, the WC, and I was trying to throw up, but nothing was coming out. I just said, what's going on? Was it something I ate? Was it, whatever? Well, I didn't know what it was. So I just continued. But I remember I could not use the cream that day. I had an oil with me or shea butter or something, and I used that and I left the cream. Men and brethren, that feeling continued for about 2 or 3 weeks. I got to a point where I just packed all my creams. I put them in the cupboard underneath the mirror of the bathroom that I was in and just locked them there. The smell of the creams started to irritate me, like really irritate me, like throw up irritation. So I thought it was because maybe I was dealing with a bug or something and my tummy was just all over the place. So I'll just leave it there until later. But I promise you, each time I brought the creams out, it would stink. It would just want to make me throw up. I can't explain it, but it was just such an irritating feeling that till now, when I smell strong lightening creams, I get an irritation. This was me who used to have cabinets full of creams. But the more I prayed, the more I fasted, the more I sought God's face, those same things started to irritate me from my tummy to my gut to my throat. It just felt like, yuck, I can't touch these things. And so I left them in the cupboard. And I remember when I left America 6 months later, I put the creams back in my bag and brought them back to Nigeria. Like, I just didn't know what to do with them because I didn't want to dispose of them. And I didn't know who to give it to. So I just put them in my bag and brought them back to Nigeria. And while I was in Nigeria, I tried it again and I had that same feeling because I thought to try it because I felt that, okay, maybe a different environment and, just a different atmosphere, it would probably not feel as yucky as it felt. But people of God, that feeling stayed. And I remember one night I was praying and I really wasn't praying about the way I felt each time I wanted to use my regular creams, but I was just praying. And I just started to talk to God about revealing things to me that I needed to see or opening my ears to things I needed to hear. Like I just started talking to God about these things. And I remembered someone in my church, right? Elevation Church in Nigeria. Her name is Pastor Joy. And one day she gave a testimony about how she used to really love coffee. She liked her coffee strong and black and no milk. It felt to her like she couldn't go a day without having her coffee. So when she wakes up in the morning, the first thing she wants is her coffee, and then her day can now start. And she gave a testimony about how God delivered her from addiction to coffee, right? Addiction to coffee. And she said she took a fast, random fast, 3 days, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And she woke up on Monday morning and she tried to have her coffee and her tongue rejected it. And she said she thought somebody had contaminated her coffee, somebody had left it open or whatever. So she picked up her car keys, drove out, bought a brand new jar of coffee, came home, tried to make coffee again, and again, her tongue rejected it. And she said to that day, she hadn't had coffee again. She just had not had that addiction to coffee again, that her body started to reject it. And she said that she didn't even know how addicted to coffee she was until she took that fast. And then her body started to reject it. Her spirit, her soul started to reject the coffee. It was like she was just throwing up anytime she drank coffee. And when she preached that day, she was talking about how we can be addicted to little things. And just because they seem harmless, they seem to not be in the way of our day to day, like other substances would be. We tend to normalize it, but at some point, God would have to prompt us about them and force us to stop those things. And so, as I was praying that day, for some reason, this sermon, I had heard this sermon maybe sometime in 2017 or 2018. But as I was praying that day, it just came back to me like, oh, this is exactly what I was experiencing. My soul was repelling something that I had been so used to for a very long time because I had normalized it as part of my life, my routine, etc., etc. And God was prompting me to stop. And that was why even when I forced myself to use the creams, I just couldn't. It was so bad that I went to see a friend of mine and she was using creams and I had to get up because she was in her bedroom and she said, oh, come in. And she was taking a shower, and after she finished taking a shower, she started to use her creams. And I was like, what is that? She said, it's just my cream. I was like, what is the name of the cream? And she mentioned, how she got it from this girl that sells skincare and it's so good. I just told her, you know what? I'm going to go back and sit in the lounge, in your parlor. When you're done, just come and meet me out there. She said, why? I said, it just smells funny. She says, yeah, but it doesn't. I'm like, no, it smells really funny and I can't sit here while you're doing your personal care. I just can't smell this thing. And I literally had to go out to the sitting area and wait for her to finish. It was then that it dawned on me that God was prompting me against bleaching creams. And so even when my spirit man wasn't sensitive enough to listen to what the Spirit of God was saying to me, he had to put that irritation in me for me to stop using lightening, bleaching, steroid-based creams. And that was how my deliverance came. It wasn't anything like a voice telling me, "Oh, thou shalt not use creams, never again. I command you, my daughter, don't use." No, it wasn't anything like that. It was me praying, me fasting, me consecrating myself to God. And suddenly, that irritation welled up on the inside of me that caused me to never be able to use bleaching creams. And that is how my deliverance from lightening creams and harsh skincare products came about. Now, in the years that followed, my skin reacted badly to me stopping lightening creams. My skin was in shock. Yep. So the first 1 year wasn't easy because when you've been feeding your skin these things, your skin is used to them. And so when you stop, your skin is asking you for more. It's like, give me more. Where is it? Where's my food? Where's my thing? So my skin was in shock for like a whole year. For a period of about a whole year, my skin was in shock. My skin would be dull sometimes, it would glow sometimes. It was just lackluster. You could tell that the skin was lacking something that it was used to. But like I said, I couldn't stand the smell of these creams. The only thing I could use were moisturizing creams and just very mild creams. And so, regardless of what my skin was doing, I just stuck with it. So, even throughout the pandemic, I was just using moisturizers, and it was even a great thing because during the pandemic, there was a lot of economic uncertainty. So I didn't even have money to buy a lot of creams. So I just stopped doing the mild stuff. And after about a year, 10 months to a year, I watched my skin get back to reset. Gradually, my glow came back and my skin just gradually got back to reset. And I have stayed in that space up until now, which is why I am comfortable enough to make this video and say to you that if God is prompting you covertly or overtly to stop the use of bleaching creams, you should listen to him and you should obey him because he is your father and he knows what is best for you and your body and your skincare routine. To be honest with you, in my private life, I have preached against the use of lightening creams. I can tell you that I have at least 4 converts now, people close to me, who used to look to me for skincare advice. They used to come to me and say, "Mary, what's up now? What's the latest product?" Because they knew that I knew these things. And I would recommend products to them. And they will use these products, and these products will work. But when they started coming back to me and I was saying, "No, darlings, I've checked out. I now use moisturizers only." Initially, they thought I was gatekeeping a secret and I didn't want to share what I was using. But I think when they started to watch me, they said, "Oh, it looks like this babe has stopped using lightening creams." And I said, "Yes, I have." I told you guys, I've resigned. So I can hand over the baton to you, but I am not indulging anymore. And of course, initially my skin was like really chalky and really, it wasn't just giving. So they probably didn't support it. But when my skin did the whole cycle and became rejuvenated, and I went through that shock, and then the skin started to glow on its own, they knew something was up. Okay. And of course, as human beings are, they would usually come back and say, "Okay, Mary, it looks like this your new routine is working. How do I join in?" And I'll say to them, just stop. Just stop using everything you're using and just go neutral. Moisturizers, body scrubs, and just moisturizers, oils, natural oils, no lightening, toning, brightening, anything. And I think because these people trusted me so much, they listened to me. But I watched them have to deal with their skin getting into shock as well. I think one of them actually relapsed. And then when she relapsed, she kind of felt like if I'd done it, for 3 months, I could try again. And then she bounced back and got back onto the no bleaching creams mantra. And her skin looks good today. So I have successfully converted 4 people against the use of lightening, bleaching, toning, brightening creams. So if you are looking for a sign to stop using bleaching creams, or lightening creams or toning creams or steroid-based creams. This is your sign from God that what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what you're thinking in your spirit is not a mistake. It is actually Him prompting you to stop, because He has done it to some of us, and so we know that feeling. I need you to know that whatever takes up your mind, takes up so much space in your mind, in your heart, and gets you to that point where you feel, I can't do without, I can't do without, I can't do without. That thing is not of God, and is not something that God likes. Because God doesn't want anything to take up our mind space so much that we feel as though we cannot do without it. The only thing, or the only person, or the only entity that we should think and feel that way about is God. Every other thing is disposable and dispensable. Every other person we can do without. Trust me. And our God is a jealous God. So when He wants your attention and He wants to take up your heart, and you have that thing that is like an idol. For me, it was my skin. It was just like, I have to glow. You know what I'm saying? So my skincare routine was like my idol. God had to take it away from me so that I could give Him my focus and give Him my heart, especially because that was a season of consecration for me. And so you might be watching this video and saying, okay, so how do you maintain your skin now that you no longer use, these harsh creams? First of all, I had to get into really healthy habits and be consistent with those healthy habits. My diet had to change. Fruits, vegetables. I mean, I've always eaten healthy, but now I eat healthy even more because I know that my skin depends on it. So I do a lot of fruits, vegetables, and balanced diets. Proteins are also really great because proteins are the building blocks of life. They encourage cell turnover, etc., etc. You can read up on all these things on Google. This video is already long enough, and I do not want to make it longer than it already is. So I take a lot of proteins and I drink a lot of water. There are days when I do water fasts, 3 days, just water only. If you do a water fast, you see how clear your skin looks when you're done. I know people who have done 21 days water fast, 40 days water fast. And when they come out of those fasts, even though they look a lot leaner, their skin looks clear because water just detoxifies your body and gives you glowing skin. And even on a normal day when you are on your regular diet of fruits, vegetables, fiber, protein, etc., etc., just make sure to drink in 2 to 5 liters of water depending on your capacity, and that helps your skin stay hydrated and clear, and it detoxifies your body. I know that, of course, because I live abroad now and the weather is not as harsh as when I used to live in Nigeria, that has also helped my skin. But I also know people who do not use lightening creams in Africa and their skin looks good as long as you stick to proper hydration techniques, drinking water, aloe vera juice, coconut water, etc., and having your fruits and vegetables form a core part of your diet, and ensuring that you incorporate protein into your diet. You should be fine. Use your sunscreen, stay moisturized, and also exfoliating your skin once a week to take off dead skin cells helps as well, because dead skin cells on your skin can take out that glow and just give your skin that dull film on the skin. So when you slow up the dead skin cells via exfoliation and you moisturize or use your oils, it really does keep your skin glowy and hydrated. I would like to conclude this video by saying this is not a manual for everyone to follow, but again, I am putting this video out there for anyone who has a nudging in their spirit to look into their skincare routine and to do away with lightening creams. Please listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit and obey. What you think you are missing, you probably are not even missing. It's just that you're doing what you know. And when you don't know any better, you do what you know. And this is not me judging anybody. Trust me, I was neck deep into the use of creams. So I'm not judging anybody or trying to make anybody feel a type of way because they're obsessed with steroid-based creams or harsh creams or whatever. No, I am in no place to judge anybody because I was the leader of that gang. But I am telling you today that if you are feeling a way in your spirit about it, you need to pray about it and you need to ask God for the grace to stop. I would also like to say, I think this, I should have added this in one of the advantages. My budget on skincare has dropped since I stopped using harsh creams, because to get good lightening creams cost you a lot of money. Okay. And so you end up spending a lot of money to maintain that skin. But ever since I stopped, my budget on creams dipped. I was able to save more money, and I'm not scared of going without. Like, I'm not scared of traveling and not having access to certain creams or running out or things like that. I mean, look at how I packed jars of lightening creams because I was going to America for 6 months because I was scared of running or going without. But right now, I just buy store-bought creams and I just use them. And, there's just so much. I don't have to just obsess about going a shade or 2 or 3 shades darker because I can't find creams or whatever. It's so much freedom. Honestly speaking, it is so much freedom. And I've been on this since 2019. So this is 2025. You can count the years, right? So I'm not playing with you guys. This stuff works. So if you are feeling a certain type of way about your skincare routine, maybe you just feel a drawback in your spirit each time you go to do your shopping for skincare products, or you feel as though you need to change this routine or you need to rewrite this script, please do it. Prayerfully ask God for grace to do it. And do not listen to what people say. Like when I stopped using, skincare products, people thought I couldn't afford to. Some people were saying, oh, she's broke now. She doesn't have money to buy cream. It wasn't that. It was that I couldn't, my whole spirit was rejecting these creams. And so I couldn't even use. So God just put me in that spot. And I think that sometimes people are scared of making these changes a lot because of what other people would say, think, or feel about, whatever it is that's going on with you. But you need to remember that the journey is between you and God. And if He wants to bring you to the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to walk through that tunnel with Him. And that's is one of the things that just kept me going throughout my journey, throughout the months that my skin was looking very chalky and dry and lackluster. I always remembered that this was a journey I was working with God, and it feels so peaceful on this other side. Trust me, you guys, it is so peaceful on this other side. Sometimes when I look at my skincare closet now, I can't believe that I just have like moisturizers and just moisturizers. I wish I could stand up. Let me show you guys the lotions I'm using right now. Hold on. So these are the 2 lotions right now in my skincare cabinet. This is Cetaphil moisturizing cream. As you can see, you can Google these creams. And this is the Q+A vitamin C cream. I bought these 2 creams from Holland & Barrett earlier this week. Yeah. So no faffing around. Trust me. And when I went to buy them, one was 10. This one cost me £10, and this one cost me, I think it was £17 or so. I just smiled. It could never be me. A few years ago, this would have been like a dream. It could never have been me. Mary, no. It's not Mary. But we've definitely come to the light at the end of that tunnel. And it's so relieving to know that God can actually change even the most unusual and unlikely things in a person when He decides to, and when that person surrenders their life to Him. So, yes, if you are in that place of surrender of your skincare routine, of your beauty routine, of your hair care routine, for some people it's hair straightening. I know some women that can't do without straightening their hair. For some people it's makeup. Some people can't do without makeup. Oh gosh, I think I had my makeup era, but right now I wear less makeup. But maybe that's a video for another day. So for some people it's, oh, nobody can ever see me in my natural hair. For some it's like, oh, I can never, oh, these things are really things that we can also surrender to God. we can also surrender to God. I'm not saying you should never do that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if it's so much of an idol that it terrifies you to think that somebody will see your natural hair, or that you go for an important meeting without a wig, or that you go to work without makeup, if it terrifies you so much, you need to surrender that thing to God. Surrender it to the Holy Spirit. That is an idol. And you need to surrender it to Him and ask Him to help you deal with it. There is nothing like serving God and experiencing a lot of the freedoms that come with serving God. And maybe your beauty routine is part of it. All right. So, as many that do not understand this video or feel as though this video might not apply to you, I wish you all the best. But I hope and I pray and I know that this video will get to the intended recipient as God has led me to. All right, so I'll see you guys in my next video, and I love you all and I am happy to be back. Cheers. Mwah.